25, come on. 25, 25, 24, get 22, 21, good down, daughter.
What do bidders at this car auction have in common with a judge, a detective, the president, and the developer of the iPod? As you're about to see, all use critical thinking skills required on college exams.
College questions are more in-depth and more thinking.
More thinking. What does that mean? This chart shows 6 levels of thinking. It's Bloom's taxonomy. The lowest level questions ask you to remember information. As you move up the chart, the questions get harder and harder, the thinking deeper and deeper. But remembering information is the first challenge in most, if not all, courses.
Your first heading for today is reasons for the domestic slave trade.
This is why you have to know these trig values.
Ribosomes, you mentioned them. What are those?
So you will have to remember facts, and a lot of them, but that's the easy part. Many questions ask that you show you understand the information. In a government course, you might see something like this. Discuss the federal government's system of checks and balances and their origin. Make sure to cite the competing arguments, the clash of ideas, and the resulting compromises that were made in the development of the Constitution of the United States. If you can answer that question, then you really understand the material. Next level on the chart, applying your knowledge.
It's not just state the definition, it's more how is the definition pertaining to a situation. Very difficult.
What Brittany just described is an application question. You don't just recall the information, you have to apply the knowledge to a specific situation or set of circumstances.
It's where students start thinking the teacher's asking a trick question. He talked about giraffes in lecture, and in my book it never talked about giraffes, it talked about polar bears. But when I got to the test, I was prepared to talk about giraffes and polar bears, and he asked about lions. And I thought, what do I know about lions? I don't know anything about lions. But what they wanted you to do was take what you knew about giraffes and polar bears and apply it to lions. And that's what you see all of the time in the business world.
For example, Brittany might see a question like this in American history. You are President of the United States. Mideast terrorists placed nuclear missiles in the Western Hemisphere. They're in a South American country and pose a threat to the national security of the United States. The U.S. military readies its forces, while diplomatic efforts are underway to defuse the crisis. As president, explain how your course of action will be influenced by the Monroe Doctrine, the Bush Doctrine, the role of the commander-in-chief specified in the Constitution, and the evolution of presidential war powers since World War II. It takes some getting used to those different kinds of questions.
Yes, it does.
Like Brittany, you'll be studying for exams where you'll have to apply what you've learned in the lectures and in the textbooks. Next on the chart, analysis.
It's not regurgitating information, it's more about analyzing.
Once you have to analyze instead of just regurgitate dates and names and everything, that's when you really learn.
With an analysis question, Matt breaks down the facts into individual components, explores how and why they connect, finds hidden patterns. That's what detectives do at a crime scene. They collect evidence, facts, and then try to figure the connections and patterns. You'll do the same with an analysis question.
It was the first time I really had to study hard for exams.
The next level of thinking involves questions that ask you to synthesize.
The tests, they're more of your critical thinking, more synthesizing the material that you have instead of really just regurgitating and just saying, okay, this is what the book told me and this is what you said in class, instead of actually putting my own ideas into the material that I learned. It's a lot harder to actually have to put different ideas together and come up with your own idea from it.
Think of synthesis as several threads. They may be facts, ideas, or trends. With a synthesis question, Charlie will weave the threads together to form a new idea.
Synthesis is going about picking up different components from different pieces and bringing them together to make a new whole again.
Here's a real-world example of synthesis. Your still pictures are in a camera or computer. Your videos are on a DVD. Your music is on a CD. You're always on the go. You'd like to have all this with you anytime, anywhere. Take those facts, trends, wants, and needs, stir them in your mental mixing bowl, and ta-da! You have a new product. That's just how Apple developed the iPod. Synthesis.
If you've got this bit of information and this bit of information and this bit of information, how can I put them all together? How can I synthesize this and come out with a new idea?
Finally, questions that ask you to evaluate. Think about it in the context of a courtroom, and you're the judge. The exam question will ask you to evaluate, judge, or assess facts, ideas or theories.
I've got this information over here and this information here. Which one of them is better information?
Which of these cars is worth more? When professional car buyers bid on used vehicles at auctions, they first evaluate them on a set of criteria. What's the mileage? Is it clean? Does it have a lot of dents, etc.? Then the bidder makes a judgment on the vehicle's value. You'll do the same thing on an exam, but you'll be making judgments on ideas, theories, and more. You'll define a set of criteria, use the criteria to assess the pros and cons of the ideas or theories, then make a judgment based on your overall assessment. That's all about thinking, isn't it?
Exactly. Problem solving and critical thinking.
They want you to think.
And what a novel idea.
College exams often require critical thinking. Questions ask you to apply, analyze, synthesize, or evaluate. The next several chapters will help you prepare for such questions.